Hey entrepreneurs! So if startup is, in the metaphor of an airplane about to take off, your systems check and you're taxiing out to the runway, what is accelerating down the runway? Well, there's interesting work being done by a venture capital group called Wildcat Venture Partners, and what they've identified is something they call the traction gap. The traction gap is that period of time between when you have a product and you've got some customers, but you don't have a business yet. It's not self-sustaining. You're not repeatedly generating revenue. And what they've done in the traction gap methodology is they've defined a couple of key inflection points in your business where you've created meaningful value. The first is from your minimum viable product to minimum viable revenue. That's when you've shown that you have a sales process, that you can engage customers repeatedly, and you've been able to launch a couple of iterations of your product and implement it with customers repeatedly. You are at minimum viable revenue. Then you have to accelerate into minimum viable traction. So that airplane is speeding down the runway and lifting up off the ground before it gets to scale. Minimum viable revenue is where you show you can be a self-sustaining business with or without other people's investment. They've also identified some key metrics and milestones based on their experience with business-to-business software as a service companies. For a B2B SaaS company, minimum viable revenue comes at about $2 million. From minimum viable product to minimum viable revenue typically takes a company about 18 to 24 months. If you're not selling in the first couple of years of developing and launching your product to the market, you're probably not going to hit minimum viable revenue. Minimum viable traction is when you triple that number to 6 million over the next 4 to 6 quarters. You need to show steady incremental growth quarter over quarter. Minimum viable traction is when the big venture capitalists want to come in and help fund you to scale.